What is up, everybody? It's me, Duke Farley, here on Lost at Sea. I'm back at it again, and I am joined this evening by the one and only, the winner of season two of Ascendance Live, Mr. Drew Olson. What is up, Drew? Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hey, Duke, thanks so much for having me. I've been following along all season. Excited. I knew I wasn't going to get this until the very last one, so I'm super excited to be here and spill all the tea. I'll answer all your hot burning questions. I'm excited and pumped.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you, Drew. Obviously, you were in season nine, and you also played in the Ghost of the Past mini. So, I watched you kind of kill it in those games. And now to see you here, winning season two of Ascendance Live, pretty cool. So I know you've played a lot of live games before, so you had a little bit of experience. But what was it like, coming into this one where you kind of knew a decent amount of people?
So, obviously, sorry, technical difficulties. Yes, I'm outside now. Hello.
Change
Um,
of scenery.
yeah, I got to show off the beautiful Coloradan weather. um, but yeah, so coming into this game, obviously I knew over half the cast, right? I knew 9 out of the 17 people who were playing. So that's like a double-edged sword. Sure, I had 9 people that I can fall back on, but then I also had people being like, well, he's just going to rely on those people. So it was a very hard like way to navigate it. And funny thing you say that, I knew 9 people, but on night 0, I felt the most alone I've ever felt. Like no one was talking to me. Everyone was like ignoring me. I literally was like, fuck, I'm going home first. Like that first night, I really was like, I'm done. Like this isn't, nothing's going to happen. And then come and like I mentioned in the episodes, I went and played bingo by myself because everyone else was doing other things. And I find that power. And from that moment on, and then we did the vote and I tied for almost getting the third highest amount of votes. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm not so bad as I thought, but everything just runs through your mind because you're like, what the hell is going to happen in this game? But yeah, that night 0, I was like, great. I'm a goner. I'm a goner.
So you went in with knowing 9 people, but not all of the people you would say would be like your closest best friends. But who were like the people that you knew of that you would say were like your close allies in the game going into it before you guys started like this game?
So like when I walked in and like everyone was there and I saw everybody, the people that I felt like the best with was Kennedy and Erica. Those were the 2 that I felt the best with. Thomas and I we had a rocky past. We met back in, I believe it was 2013 or 2014 in a live game, and we absolutely hated each other, hated each other. And we've played maybe like 3 or 4 games together, and every single time we were after each other. So when I walk in and I see Thomas, I'm like, fuck, I wanted to come into this game where people didn't truly know how I played, and he truly knows how I used to play. Like deep down, he's seen me play live games and played with me. So I was like, shoot, I need to watch out for Thomas. But then he pulls me aside. We have our first conversation, and that's squashed. And from that moment on, he was my closest ally. But yeah, going in, it was definitely Erica and Kennedy is who I felt the closest to.
Cool. And you mentioned finding that power on the bingo table.
Yep.
So did you win at bingo? I guess you ultimately did win with finding the power, but how was your luck with the bingo game?
True. If you look at it that way, who ultimately won? Me. But the lovely Stephanie and Sarah did end up beating me in the bingo game. And like everyone else, bingo sucked and they took all your money. But persistence was key. And I persisted and being nice, like I said in the episode, I helped them clean. And if I didn't help them clean those cards, I would not have found the join a vote. So,
So help production out for further contestants. Like you gotta help clean up the competitions, and
yep.
maybe you'll find something.
Yep, exactly. Like you never know because I proved it twice this season. We'll get more into that one later. but you never know what could be at challenges. So keep an eye out. Like if you have a way to help in any way, do it, or always just be a Hawkeye. If you already know you're not going to win the challenge, pay close attention to everything there because you never know what was in plain sight.
Um, I want to talk about Hot Girl Chris's advantage that he got during the casino night. And it ultimately you found that pendant of power that it was alluding to under the stairs. Watching the episode, or I guess postseason, was that something that surprised you? Like he had that, or like run me through that kind of from your perspective. Like you found it without having needed that. Like why were you even in the under the stairs at the in the first place?
So, fun fact after Balloon Gate, right? That challenge lasted, and I guess Balloon Gate, that challenge lasted a good, I'd say 45 minutes. And I kind of alluded to it in my final speech, but as a joke. But the cast, I was known in the cast as constantly going to the restroom, like all the time. So we had just finished Balloon Gate. We were headed back over to the main house, and I was like, I really have to go to the bathroom. So I rushed over there. I was the first one over there, and as I was walking down the stairs, there's like an ottoman behind the stairs that like you can put like flowers and other things. I look, and there's the clue that Hot Girl Chris got on the ottoman. So I snatched that clue. I was like, oh, I'm gonna read this and put it back. No, I'm like, no, no, no. Mm-mm. So I snatched that clue, put it into my pocket, and ditched the case that I was in. And I go around finding, like, I was like, is there a trap door in here? There's no way there's a trap door in this house. And I was just trying to think logically, what could be underground that we can get to? Like, there's going under the deck, there's the stairs. So I was just trying to think logically there. So when I go in this, when I open up that door, and I had to wait because everyone's strategizing. I won, obviously, and everyone's strategizing. And I'm like, when am I going to have a time to even try to go into this closet? So no one was downstairs. And like the last person walks upstairs, and I'm like, I'm going to go for it. I go in the closet, I open the door, and there it is, deep down on the other side, a treasure chest. I was like, no, ma'am, this isn't what it is about to be. So I crawl because you got to ascend to descend, descend to ascend. I think that was the phrase on there. And I open up the treasure chest, and there it was, the Holy Grail, the pendant of power. How it lasted till round 3 is beyond me, especially with Hot Girl Chris getting that clue. I know he said he didn't really want to crawl or do anything, but I don't think that, I think that clue was pretty helpful, if I'm being honest. I don't think I ever would have went in that closet if it wasn't for the clue.
Okay. So he left his clue just like out there then, and you
No,
grabbed.
so he got the clue in
Oh yeah,
the
you're right. You're
auction,
right.
and then the production re-hid the clue because they were like,
Okay.
how is no one finding this? So they re-hid it there, and then I found the clue, and then I was going to the bathroom, and then everyone was starting to come in. So then I had to wait till strategy started, and then I had to go. I was in there. I think strategy was like 20 minutes, and I was in that closet for I think 17 of the 20 minutes. And
Did
I
you
come
ever
back
catch
out.
flack for that? Like, was anybody like,
No.
"Where's Drew?"
Well, okay, so I hear the timer go off, and I knew the timer went off because everyone was going upstairs. So I was like, I have to wait for everyone to go upstairs. And then I had to hurry and run to my backpack.
Because you can
And
hear them because
yeah, you
they're
could hear, I
right
could
above
hear
you.
them. Yeah. So I had to rush and hurry and go to my backpack and stash the clue or the pendant there. And then I come back up looking like sick and like not feeling good. And Thomas was like, where were you? And I was like, I really just needed to step outside and get some air. I just was not feeling good. And he was like the only one that asked. And after that, nothing. So I was like, whew, I got away with this.
That's funny. That's so funny. Yeah, we will talk about that other pendant that you find a little bit later, but let's keep. I want to ask about the formation of the four. Yourself, Thomas, Taisha, and Zoe. So that I guess was created during the elimination, Keaton's elimination, where you guys were pretty much all there. Voting at that one. So run me through like your perspective of that vote, I guess, and then how that alliance formed.
Yeah. So they didn't really show it in the episode or the season, but I was hardcore gung ho on targeting two people early on, one being Marvin and the other one being Zoe, because I had no connection with either of them. So every single, like the first 2, 3 episodes, I was like, oh, I hope it's Marvin or Zoe who go. I hope it's Zoe. I hope it's Marvin. And I did not, and I didn't speak to them. So I was like, it's just an easy vote for me. But we finished the uh, overflow challenge. We had to run and fill the water. And I was chilling because I had just won. So I was like, okay, cool. I can just relax. And they started playing the overnight video, right? And I just sit down. I'd finished taking a shower. Zoe has finished taking a shower. And she like leans over to me and she's like, well, before that, I'm going to roll back because Thomas comes up to me. He's like, how would you feel about an alliance of me, you, Zoe, and Taisha? And I was like, at that time, I was like, I don't really like Zoe, or not like, but I don't really trust Zoe. But I'm not going to say no to an alliance. And I trust Thomas. So if he feels good with that, I feel good with it. So I was like, sure. So then it just happens to be when we're sitting down at the overnight, Zoe leans over to me. She goes, hey, I really like your vibe. And I go, hey, I really like your vibe too. And the rest is history from there. Then she talks to Taisha. I talk to Thomas. Thomas and Taisha talk. We all talk. And the core four was formed. And you know, see how that goes. But that was the moment I truly, truly, truly felt good in the game because the rounds prior, I did not feel safe. Like Ryan says I made it up my name, but I know for a fact someone said my name. I did not make up my name being out there for the first round. So I was stressed about that. The second vote, I think we won. Yeah, we won the second vote. The third vote, I won as well. And I was like, I'm winning all these challenges. How can I prove loyalty or build these bonds because we're not at a vote? So when that happened and that alliance got formed that night, I knew I was in for success in the future. So that's how it formed. Albeit, I did feel like the fourth wheel in that alliance. I'll be honest, because I know they all three went to wine night, but I was okay with that because I knew what my strategy was coming in was laying low and let others take the heat from me. And because people felt Zoe and Thomas were like super close, it took heat off of me and helped me in the end.
So you came in with a kind of lay low attitude in the beginning. Were you not purposely, but were you not giving it your all in the captain's challenges like in the beginning, like trying to not to be the captain?
Oh no, not at all. I wanted to win captain early on because I feel like that helps build your bonds with people. Um, and yeah, I did try. I think I was second or third in a lot of those competitions. So just so happened I couldn't pull out the win until that water challenge, which wasn't even a captain's challenge, doesn't even count towards my record. So
And so the round where Keaton's blindsided, had that core four not been in place, um, would you have tried to go for Zoe?
I probably would have went for Zoe or Jodalee because at that point the four was made, and then Thomas mentioned that we had Erica and Jodalee on the side, so they weren't even options for me. But had that not formed and not had that, I think I would have pushed maybe a little harder for Jodalee, just because I know that he wanted me out, but I know maybe not as much as I didn't know in the game he wanted me out as much as he did watching the season, if I'm being honest. Um, because we'll get to it, but I looked out for him quite a bit, and he wasn't reciprocating that favor to me. So I should have known, but it is what it is in hindsight, you know.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because I just spoke to Jodely a couple of nights ago. You guys can check his exit interview out on the channel. And I asked him about the little rivalry between you two. So I wanted to get your take. It seems like you didn't even know that Jodely was kind of coming for you for a decent amount of the
No,
game.
not at all. Like obviously, I know we had our past with Ghost of the Past. Hold on, I need to let the dog in.
Little cameo by Drew's dog.
Go. uh, okay, I'll start. But I didn't even know so much that Jodely was that gung ho against me. Like, obviously, we had a deal in Ghost of the Past, but I had a final two deal with both JG and Jodely. So when I broke my bond to Jodely and Ghost of the Past, I didn't realize how petty Jodely can be. Like, bad, bad. And it's crazy. Like, a lot of people I was watching, a lot of people said they didn't know when Jodely walked out that it was Jodely. Oh no, I knew the moment Jodely walked out. You cannot you the gloves gave it away too to me. Like, that's just Jodely. Like, you could tell just the aura of Jodely. I was like, that's Jodely, and I was excited to see Jodely. Apparently, he wasn't excited to see me because I'm the devil and wanted to push me down the stairs. But yeah, no, I did not know that was that big of a rivalry ship. Like, yeah, I wanted him out, but not as bad as he wanted me out.
Um, yeah, I think you'll find Joe Louis' exit interview a fun watch then. So let's move into kind of like the jury portion of the game. Um, I guess the real like huge vote and critical vote is when I guess when Thomas is eliminated. You kind of are blindsided there by Taisha, and that's the end of the core four. That kind of implodes on itself there. Well, not implodes, but Taisha goes a different direction. Um, so would you say that was the most shocked moment for you at that point when Thomas is eliminated, or do you kind of see that coming?
Oh no, 100%. And I think Thomas even said it in his thing with you. Um, I don't think I would have used it, but I was so confident that Thomas was staying because I put so much trust into Thomas, Zoe, Taisha, Erica. Like, I was like, we have a five. Like, chill, Thomas. And Thomas kept on being like, no, I got a bad feeling. I got a bad feeling. I'm like, no, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. So when that fourth vote came in for him, I was like, shit, Erica flipped. Great. Well, we're just gonna go to a tie and we'll save Thomas in the revote. So when that fifth vote came in for Thomas, I was floored. And he always gives me crap about it. He says, you did not cry at my elimination, but you cried at like almost everybody else's. I was in such shock that I couldn't even get tears out. Like, I'm just stunned that I just lost my number one. And now I'm on the bottom and I have to figure out what I'm going to do. That was the biggest shock for me all season. Yes.
Um, I want to go back to actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Carson's elimination. I want to ask you about. Um, I had fun talking to Carson, but everybody kind of was voting for Carson at the point where he was eliminated, and it was kind of he knew that. So there's a point where he goes and sits in the elimination chair and kind of is just like getting ready for the vote. And everybody individually comes up to Carson and starts asking him certain questions, or we don't really hear exactly what's going on. But you went up to Carson, and I want to know what you were telling him. What were you trying to get? I know you probably were trying to get some information out of Carson. So what was that conversation like?
Yeah. So I just wanted to confirm it was awkward. Well, I'll just say awkward. All of us just going to sit there and staring. That was awkward. And now looking back, I feel so bad. Like, it's like we're looking down on you, Carson. And I'm like, that's not even what we were trying to do. We just wanted to watch him to make sure he didn't get anything else. But looking back, I'm like, oh, that looks so bad. um, but I talked to Carson. For one, I need to make sure if he does have a pendant and he's going to play it, he's not going to vote for me. And I need to just confirm because Jodely and Hot Girl Chris had already confirmed, oh no, don't worry, it's just a steal a vote. But I wanted to try to see if he would tell me out of his own mouth. I don't think he ended up telling me, but I just wanted to talk to him for that and also just make sure he's doing okay because I think he may have mentioned it in like jury roundtable and stuff. But I made it a point to like connect to people on a personal level as well. Because if you don't connect to them on a personal level, why would they even want to keep you in the game? So I feel like I just wanted to make sure he was okay. Even though I knew he was going, I just wanted to make sure he was okay going out. Yes, sure, jury management as well. But yeah, I know how hard this game could be. So I just wanted to make sure he was okay.
Yeah. Um, so the other vote, the another vote that I'm thinking about now, where you use your joint a vote, I believe that's when Paul's eliminated. Um, Run me through that. You deciding to actually put that power into play. I think that power last season wasn't used or was
Yeah.
going to be used and then wasn't used. And that actually was like surprising to some people. So tell me about the decision making on that end. And it worked out for you guys, right?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure Edmund got that power last season too. So shout out if you get the join a vote, you more likely can potentially win the season. Shout out.
They're 2-0.
2-0. Join a vote's 2-0 if you snag that. So just saying. Um, but so my thought process for that is you have, I believe it was Jodely. I'm trying to think who voted. Jodely.
Pull that up here for you.
Yeah, I was like, I can't think exactly all who was voting.
We have you, Jodely, Kennedy, Zoe, Thomas, Wesley, and Carson.
Okay, yeah, that is so. Kennedy,
Yeah,
Jodely, and Carson. I was like, yeah, Jodely's with us, but before this, I think it was, I don't know, he was giving some wishy-washy vibes, and I was like, I don't think we can count on Jodely. So I felt like those three were going to vote together. All they needed was to pull in Wes. And oh no, actually, you know what it is? I knew it was Jodely, Zoe, and Thomas. And then there was Carson, um, Kennedy, Paul, and then Wes in the middle. So I knew we had three there, three there. So we had to rely on Wesley. I was not going to like, I didn't know truly where Wesley stood. We had a good relationship, but I didn't truly know where he stood. I could not risk three of my alliance members going home when I could have had a say in it. So I felt at the least I'd be able to force a tie because Zoe, Thomas, and Jodely and I would vote for Paul, and then the other four would vote for Jodely. So that's one round where I did protect Jodely. Just saying, just saying. I don't know how my actions did not prove that I had his back. But I did that because I could not lose a number there. As you saw in the season in that episode, it was a balance. Like there was the Kennedy, Marvin, Carson, HGC, like that side forming. And then you had my core four plus Erica and Jodely, which I still felt at the time was a solid 6. So I did not want to lose any of that because after Paul's vote, we held majority 6 versus 5. So I was like, this is the time I'm going to use it. I'm going to protect my allies, prove my loyalty in this game, and show them that I'm a ride or die with them. So that's why I ended up using that. Fun fact, which again, watching episodes crazy. Excuse me, crazy. Wes ended up voting with them, which is fine. But me using that power pushes Zoe to vote for Paul. Crazy. Because could you imagine Wes votes for Paul, but then Zoe votes for Jodely? That would have been a whole mess. But then we would have blamed, most likely we would still blame Wesley because I trust Zoe. It would have been a whole fiasco. So in the end, it helped that I joined that vote.
I want to move on to the vote where Kennedy idles out Wesley.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you were in on that vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a mess, the entire like strategy portion. But how confident were you that Kennedy was leaving? And then I want you to also explain like your relationship with Kennedy throughout the game where she doesn't even think to put her sole vote to evict on you.
So I knew 100% that Kennedy was going to leave, unfortunately. I knew at some point I was going to have to cut ties with her. I think this is a round where I did fall back on pre-existing relationships. Although I think I built a good relationship with Kennedy in the game because I'll be honest, I didn't even know her and Marvin were a duo as close as they were. I thought we were pretty close. So I knew she was going. I didn't want to vote for her. Like I wanted to throw her a bone because obviously jury management, and I just couldn't do that to her after how close we had grown in the game. And due to that, I knew that she had the item or the pendant, the pendant, because she comes up to me and she goes, "Do you trust me?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Do you remember what I did in iSurvivor?" And I said, "Yes." She goes, "Well, it's going to happen again here." And I said, "Okay." So she said, you can vote for me. And I said, okay. And she goes, between Jodie and Wesley, who do you prefer to go? Obviously, I didn't want to make a decision because that wasn't part of my game. I didn't want to be the one making decisions so early to seem as a threat. So I told her, out of the two, I'd probably prefer Wesley to go, only because I think he's been to so many eliminations and he has a good bond, and I think Jodie's lied so much that we're going to be easier to get him out. Which in the back of my head, I'm trying to protect Jodie because I don't want Jodie to go. There's number two, Jodie. Number two. Obviously, I'm not saying that's the whole sole reason why she eliminated Wesley, but I pushed hard for Jodie to stay yet again, um, because I thought he was part of the six. So I knew Kennedy wasn't going to go. So after we had voted, I went up to Wes and Jodie and I was like, "Yeah, it's going to be one of you two. She has an eye. She has a pendant." Because I was trying to save face with them too, to be like, "Hey, just so you know, one of you are going." Like she said, she didn't tell me which one, but one of you two are going. So I tell them once the votes were already cast. Obviously, they couldn't do anything and vote for me. So I tell them just to give them a heads up, which I want to mention because I love him, but I know he mentioned it on this podcast. I did not push hard to save Eric because of the strategy that I was using. He wonders why I didn't stick my neck out. One, I was safe at that elimination, and I was already feeling on rocky ground. I hadn't had my four-person alliance yet, so I felt like I could go at any moment. And coming in, I did not want to stick my neck out and seem like a big threat because I would have been taken out early. I would have loved to keep Eric in because he was in my end game. I wanted to go deep in this game with Eric, but I did not stick my neck out because it would have put me in a bad spot in the game. I gave him a heads up. Should have I? I don't know. I thought I was doing the decent thing, but I guess I should have heads up and try to save him, but I couldn't do that for my game. So I just wanted to put that out there. Love you, Eric, but that's the reason why.
Yeah, I do actually recall Eric mentioning that. I think he said that you were the one that he felt the most burned by, I guess, in the game. And well, there is the reason why you did what you did, I guess.
Oh,
Um,
and I can't believe I totally spaced him. Like when you asked earlier, Eric was one of the Eric, Erica, and Kennedy were the three I felt closest to at the beginning.
so ultimately Wesley does leave on Kennedy's or excuse me, pendant play. But I think this is a great time to jump into the public pendant of power that you took a couple times back and forth, but you got it. So, what was it like finding that, knowing that you already have the protection of one that you haven't played yet, that's secretive. Now you have a public one. Um, and so kind of go through like what it felt like to grab that mid competition, and also what was your goal, like what was your strategy in playing it off like publicly, I guess.
While I really thought they had placed that there the round I found it. I did not effing know that it was there the entire time. It like blew my mind. I was like, I went to that pool so much and I didn't even see that pendant. So when it's just chilling there and Eric and Kennedy are just digging on the sides and not looking in the middle, I'm like, I'm just going to grab this. Thank you. And slip it into my pocket. Once I found that, knowing that I had two, I wanted to fight that much harder to win the captain comp. I win the captain comp. I save Zoe. Kennedy probably goes there. At final six, we had a chance for one of us two to win, and I could have, obviously, I would have saved myself. Unfortunately, I probably would have lost Zoe, so we probably still would have ended up with the same five. But my thought process was just, I survived round seven. I'm going to be in the final four. Obviously, they don't know that there. And they say in the episode, and they didn't do a very good job, or maybe I'm just good at reading them, but everyone says they're trying to get me to flush that pendant. But I talked to HGC and I go, am I okay? Do I need to play this? And I mentioned it's public because two people saw me find it. I've been up to that point. I wanted to play as honest of a game as you could. So I just mentioned, yeah, I found it's a pendant. Yeah. I don't recall saying I was going to use it. So I don't know. I know some people said I did, but I don't recall saying I would use it. But I asked HGC. Well, first off, I'll start at the beginning. So I'm going to be naive too here again, and shame on me once, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I don't know, whatever the phrase is.
I think that was it.
Ridiculous. Is that it? Yeah. So obviously I'm blindsided in the Thomas vote. So when we come in, it's Zoe and I on the bottom. But now we have Kennedy, so I'm feeling good, and I feel really close to Erica still, even though we haven't really talked much all game and we haven't been working in tandem. I felt good with Erica, and we squashed things with Taisha, and um, telling HGC no, Taisha's lying. She flat out knew about this plan, and her telling you no is otherwise. So then that all happens, right? So then I go and talk to people. I'm like, HGC, do I need to play this? Am I okay? And he goes, no, no, you're fine. You're fine. You don't need to play it. It's going to be fine. So I was like, okay, great. HGC is voting Taisha. Solid there. Don't have to worry. Then I go to Eric and I'm like, and it's when we're sitting and about to vote. I go over to Eric and I'm like, do I need to play this? And she goes, no, Drew, no, you are fine. So I'm like, oh, Taisha's going. This is golden. So I was like, I'm not playing my pendant on myself because I just got confirmation from two people that I'm not going. And I already know Kennedy and Zoe aren't voting for me. So I'm good. So the votes come in, Taisha, Taisha. And then the vote for Zoe comes. And I'm like, I don't even know why I didn't effing think that Zoe would be the option when people told me I'm not going. And they're like, yeah, you're fine. I was like, oh, it's Taisha. So then Zoe starts coming and Zoe comes. I'm like, oh, this is why they said it's not me. It's Zoe that's going, not me. So I never played it. Fun fact, if I wasn't going to play it like they gave me, like if they were so good at lying and convinced me that it wasn't me, I felt good at that point. But if they ended up voting for me, both pendants were going straight into the hands of Zoe. So Zoe was going to be in the final four. One of us was going to be in the final four because obviously I wouldn't have played it, and then I would have had to give it publicly, and then Zoe would have got both of those, so she would have been in the final four. And who knows if she would have got to the end, but the game could have been different. But shame again, blindsided by Thomas, blindsided by Zoe. I should have known, and I'm dumb for not. I don't know why. I got too complacent, I guess, because I've had those. But I was like, oh, I trust them, which I was true in trusting them, but they were lying about who they were voting for.
Had you known that majority was going on Zoe, would you have played a pendant on her?
No, because I knew I knew, even though it sucks that she goes at 6, I still had Kennedy. Kennedy's known to win challenges. So had she won that final 6, she would have saved me at final 5 or final 6. I would say we would have tried to pull Erica. I don't know what would have happened. But then you get to 5. Say one of us loses. I still have 2 pendants. I saved myself. I saved Kennedy. We're now in the final 4. Worst case at the final 4, we would have tied the vote. So that is why I would not have played it on Zoe, even if I knew she was going, because I had the backup plan of Kennedy winning challenges, saving me with that co-captain at 6. And then at 5, I had my 2 pendants to save both of us. And then we had half the votes at 4.
So the next vote is the Kennedy vote, where she does not win immunity. And it seems like everybody is cool with getting rid of the competition threat of Kennedy. You decide to vote for Erica, right, with Kennedy, just because there is that tie between you guys in the game. Um, was that weird voting for Erica?
It was. And I made sure. So obviously, I went up to her and told her, hey, I'm voting for you. If it ties, you're getting my vote in the revote. I hope you know I hope you still trust me. I still want to work with you. I know it's probably Kennedy still going, but I can't vote for her. She understood. That's what she said to me. And I think it was in the Jerry Roundtable, people were like, why did Erica jump so quick to still trust Drew? He just voted for her. But I think, sure, maybe it was a little bit of our prior history together, but me being honest with her, me saying this, and then at Final Five, I think it was shown, I still stuck my neck out for her. So I showed her, hey, look, I still have your best interest. I still want you to go to the end with me, kind of thing. So it was hard voting for her, but in my head, I knew it was the smart move to do and that I could soothe it over with her moving forward.
Um, Obviously they tie the vote, but you had already played your public pendant of power at that point. and it does tie, and then Kennedy is voted out on the revote. Um, and then we get into a fun final five, where you have to play the next one. But Drew, I was very, very surprised that nobody thought that you were gonna play another one. I was like, wow, he's selling this, but like I don't know if I would have believed it if I was in the game with you. So run me through like how blind like that must have been so intense. Like once the votes came and all four of them were negated by your pennant of power, and everything went according to plan.
Nah, that's wild. So obviously, and I know some people ask me, why'd you fight so hard in that challenge? Two, well, for one, I fought hard because I knew I had the pendant, and sure, playing it on yourself is a big move, but playing it on someone else is even better. So I was trying to win that captain's challenge, so then everybody thinks Erica's going, and then I play the pendant and save Erica. That was my plan. That's why I fought so hard. But when I lost, and I don't know if the episode shows it as much. I think they believed me so much because I did not roll over. Like, right, I maybe that hug and everything happened with maybe like 4 minutes on the clock. And I think they gave us 15 or 20. The entire time I fought as if I didn't have a pendant. I went to HGC and was like, hey, is there any way we can stay? I think we need to get rid of Taisha or Jodie. I think this is the smartest move. I go to Erica and I'm like, hey, if I can get one more person, are you willing to vote with me? Can we get someone out? I go to Jodie, who flat out denies it and is straight to my face, says, no, I'm voting for you. I was like, okay, not working on Jodie. Okay, that's cool. Taisha. And it's funny. And I don't think they show it because I am the winner of the season and they didn't want to maybe give me such of a bad edit. But I'm talking to Taisha in that hallway, right? And we're talking, and I kind of feel like she's not like she's doing her typical like really good speech of we'll think, and she's very good at it. So we hug, and when we hug and she starts walking away, I turn back to the camera and roll my eyes. They don't show it, but I'm like, oh, this isn't about to happen. Taisha ain't. I don't got Taisha. I felt my only hope really was HGC and Erica. So when Erica comes up to me and tells me that she's voting for me, that's when I know, okay, it's done. So then I run downstairs. And another funny thing, so that room where it's me, Taisha, and Jodie, and I'm just saying it's fine to Jodie, and Taisha's like in there, right? And she goes in. You don't see that room, but she goes over and sits on the bunk bed. And there's like I said, there's like 5 minutes, 4 minutes left, and I'm like, Taisha, get out of this damn room. I need to get the pendant out of my backpack so I can play it. Like she's sitting there, and I'm like, how the hell am I gonna grab this pendant without her seeing it? I'm like, Taisha, and I'm like, Taisha, I need to compose myself before we go out. Can I get some space to myself? So then she so then she leaves, and then you see it. Then I run over the backpack, grab it, and do the little like that. And then I go back out and I compose. I'm like, y'all, I know there's only like 4 minutes left, but can we just stop? Like, I tried my best. Can we just stop and let's just no more strategizing? Let's just hug and cry it out. I know it's my time to go. All of this. So I think maybe that's why they didn't think I had it as much as it seems because
See,
I
Drew, that's the point where I would have been like, what's this guy doing? Like he's up to something. Like
well, no, because I go to everybody and I'm like, yeah, Jodie told me they're voting for me. And then to HCC, I'm like, yeah, Erica already told me she's voting for me. And it's like, Taisha already knew she's voting for me. So at that point, I'm like, they already know they're all voting for me. So what's even the point? So that's why I was like, let's just stop. I thought it was smart. And clearly it was because they all voted for me.
they did.
So,
You got him. You got him. A couple of things. I think, in your finale speech, make a great case on why you vote out Taisha. Um, in one of the questions that you answer. So I thought that was hearing you explain that. I thought that was really smart. So I'm gonna give you props to that, like
thank you.
decision making. I thought it was really good. Um, and then the other thing I wanted to ask you was, were you surprised that like nobody split the like? It seems from the edit like there was the Black Girl Magic that was Jodie, Taisha, and Hot Girl Chris, and then Erica was working alongside them, but it seemed like they weren't. She wasn't in with that like in that alliance, right? Surprised that nobody threw a vote on Erica there.
Honestly, no, because and I think they should maybe showed a little bit, but I think Hot Girl Chris and Jodely wanted me and Taisha out and like just to like have Erica there. So by one of them throwing a vote on Erica, if she somehow stays, all she needs to pull in is one other person. So I think it never crossed my mind because everyone had flat out told me they're voting for me, and I didn't see anyone flipping and voting for Erica, especially after they just protected her last round and then they protect Taisha the prior round. I felt like they were a solid knit four. Yes, I and Erica knows. I went up to her. I felt like she was at the bottom of that four, but they were a tight four. They were like my core four who weren't going to vote for each other. So it really didn't cross my mind. The whole time I figured it was going to be my one vote to send someone home. Maybe I'm a little cocky in that, but I never thought that any of them would vote for it because of the way, because of how the game had been and the way they've spoken to me. They haven't flat out, because they didn't flat out lie. Like Erica told me I wasn't going the round Zoe left. Chris, Hot Girl Chris did the same. At this point, Jodely, why would he's wanted me out so long? And then Taisha, she's not gonna vote for Erica because that's her girl. So like just the way how the game went and their body language and their words, it never crossed my mind that someone would throw a vote.
Yeah, I think Taisha. I spoke to Taisha. You could check that interview as well out on the channel. I asked her, was there any point where she thought about it, and I don't think I have to go back and look, but I think if she knew, obviously she would have, but
Yeah.
I don't think she thought you were toast. So
I feel like they all did, and I just want to say that that eliminate like I can't tell you how many times I've watched an elimination. Again, maybe conceded and whatever, but I love I love that elimination, especially so the fourth vote comes in for me, right? And Jodely, oh, Jodely's is the best. Jodely gets ready and prim and propers himself, like getting ready to be like, okay, I'm going home. So when the vote comes in for Taisha and his jaw drops, love it. I love watching that scene back. It's so good.
we all have our eliminations that we like to go back and watch for reactions.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good. I did think in during the episode I thought that it was going to be Jodely just because of this rivalry that he has with you in the diary room, I guess.
Yep.
Um
And in my head, and obviously moving forward, you saw that my competition for challenges was Jodely. So in my head at the final four, so the final four, which I guess it's kind of moving on, but final four, that challenge, I was like, okay, as long as as long as I'm in the lead, all you have to do is get the 1 point advantage. The moment they lift the thing up, drop, and then no one can get points. So the moment Jodely got a point, I'm like, well, there it is. Jodely just won the challenge. So when Jodely doesn't use that strategy, and I get that point, and then Jodely gets a second point, I'm like, okay, maybe he's going to use the strategy now, and he doesn't, and then I get that final point. I'm flabbergasted because I'm like, I don't know if it was just me thinking of like all the different possibilities, but I was like, I get a point ahead of you. I'm saying drop, and none of you are going to get the point.
yeah.
So I was shocked.
Yeah, I think that people were talking about that as the episode was
Yep.
airing in the live chat. I also was thinking what why was he not doing that? But
I'm stunned. I was stunned.
yeah,
Stunned.
yeah. Um so you do end up winning the final four challenge, so you are safe. It seems like this entire time, it seems like it was, Hot Girl Chris's time. The three others were going to vote Hot Girl Chris out. And then no, Jodely votes for Erica and we go to a face off. So how shocked were you in that?
Here I am again after it just happened an episode or final seven. I'm over here like, yeah, this is what's going to happen, and here it goes again. I'm like, what the actual fuck? I should have known. And like thinking back, I don't think Erica and I should have said who we were voting for, because then they would have probably voted for each other, because it's like, well, we're voting, or I don't know if they would have, but like by us telling HGC that it was him, it gave Jodely the chance to be like, okay, it's not me. What do I have to lose? kind of thing, you know? So I was like, oh my goodness. And this is, I don't know, I may have mentioned in Nigeria, I don't remember. But I prided myself on not committing to something unless I was for sure going to do it, because obviously that's bit me in the past in both season 9 and Ghost of the Past. So I never committed to anything till I knew. So I would always hear everybody out, but then once I committed to a vote, I said yes, I'm voting for that person. That's who I voted for. And then I feel like I everything I committed to, I stuck to, except one thing. And I try to explain it all the time, but after I vote for HUC at final 8, we get into final 7, and I reconcile with HUC, and I said, look, and maybe it may have even been final 7, it might have been in final 5, I don't know when it was, but I was like, look, I see you in my final 3 plans, kind of thing. So ideally, my final 3 was me, HGC, and Erica, but I had to go back on that promise that I made to HGC, because ultimately Erica's neck was on the line. Erica, I was always going to vote whoever Erica wanted, because I knew that I needed Erica in the game to even give myself a shot. So she chose HGC, which now looking back, it's funny because HGC won 5 captain challenges and Jolie won 0. So why she picked HGC, I don't know. Maybe she talked about it to you in her thing, but blows my mind because I would have picked Jodie, although Jodie was stronger in the later half of the game, even though he didn't win. So I guess I can see it. But that's like the one thing that I was like, I promised you this, and now I have to go back on it, which sucked. But I was always going to vote with Erica because I needed Erica in the game, and I promised her that. And fun fact, I don't think I ever said it, but and Nicole always gives me always makes fun of me for it, but because in my final speech I say I'm staying true to my final 2 that I made in the final 4. She goes, that just happened like 5 minutes ago, like jokingly on that. But that final 2 with Erica is the only final 2 I made in the game. I didn't make a final 2 with Thomas. Yes, we always talked about like, yeah, I'd like to like, yeah, we do this and this and we'll sit there together, but it was never like a we are for sure bringing each other. The words final 2 only came out of my mouth to Erica. And at that point in the game, I felt like I had not broken anything that I verbally said to anybody. So that's why I ended up sticking to that. But obviously we're still on 4. But yeah, I'm not shocked that I should have been shocked. I was shocked in the moment, but I'm looking back, I should not have been shocked that Jodie did what he did.
So the face-off happens, HGC is eliminated, and now you're able to be in the final 3, and you make it um, to the final competition, which you're going up against Jodie.
How ironic.
How ironic. And you just mentioned you were never gonna stray away from taking Erica. Were you surprised? Like, would you have been? What would you thought Jodie would have done if
Oh,
Jodie won?
100% he was voting me out. I knew it was a do or die. If I didn't win that or if I didn't win that captain's comp against Jodie, I knew I was getting 3rd place. So that's like at final 4, I was like, oh fuck, did I make the wrong decision by eliminating Taisha? And then at final 3, I was like, oh fuck, did I make the wrong decision by eliminating Taisha instead of Jodie? But I dug deep and I believed in myself and ended up obviously not. I just find it funny that, and he'll probably hate me for saying this, but taking Jodie out in 3rd 2 seasons back to back, and potentially he probably could have won both of those. Who knows? Although I think some of the jury, I don't know. I think I still could have beat Jodie, honestly, because I think the jury was really upset at Jodie. But I just think it's ironic and funny that he wanted me out so much. I was the devil. I was a filet mignon that he was going to finally take out of this game. And it was the devil, the deviled filet mignon that ended up taking him out at 3rd again. Crazy if you tell me.
Um, if Jodie wins the competition and takes you out, who would you have voted for, Erica or Jodie?
Honestly, I don't know, because yes, I was close to Erica, but I honestly probably would have went in heavily leaning towards Erica, because if someone doesn't vote me, like if I don't feel slighted or anything like that, I'll go in with an open mind. But if someone's like, if Jodely had promised me final two, and then Jodely voted me out. Oh, I would have 100% never voted for Jodely. But Jodely didn't do me no harm, so I would have been open to voting for Jodely. But I was definitely leaning towards Erica in that instance. But Jodely could have swayed me to vote for him.
Um, I asked that because I was so interested with why Jolie chose to vote for you to win. Um, but I do understand. Obviously having spoken to him, which you could catch that exit interview on the channel as well. I totally understand his decision making with that. So let's talk about the finale. I love finales. I always love a good final two. We had one literally last night with Big Brother, iconic speech by Taylor.
So good, so
Um,
good.
and that ended in an 8-1 vote, I believe. I think she probably got all the rest of those votes. I didn't check on that,
Yeah,
but
it was eight. It was 8-1 for her. Yep,
you end up winning 8-1 or whatever. Erica got one vote from Marvin.
8-1. Yep.
Um, what was the most, you have your opening speech, you have your final speech, but you have the questions in between. Um, how did you feel going into it, first of all? How, like, you versus Erica, basically.
So, and everyone says I'm. People may say I'm crazy, but Erica was super, super liked in this game.
Yeah.
And like I said, I went with my heart instead of my head in the final hour. I went with Erica, who I feel like I had a tougher time than against Jodely, who I think I could have beat. Going in, I thought it could have went either way. Honestly, I was like, okay, I think the only for sure votes that I have are Thomas, Zoe, and Kennedy. Those are the only three that I thought I had for sure. And it could have even went, I think it could have even went, ooh, maybe Thomas doesn't vote for me because I know how empowered he is by women. And I'm like, well, maybe he'll just vote for Erica because of that. So I was like, I could lose 7-2 or maybe 6-3. And then the speeches happen. I know Erica stumbled over a little bit, which again, it's her first, and all the power to her. I think she did a phenomenal job. Um, but watching the jury's faces, Thomas, dead face. I'm like, whenever I try to look at him, nothing. Zoe doesn't give me anything. Marvin's rolling his eyes.
How defeating is that? Just like
Yeah,
looking
I'm
at
just
looking
like,
at you're spilling your heart. You're explaining
yes.
everything, and then you look at a stone walled face.
Yeah,
Like,
I was
do
like,
you?
wow. I was like, wow, Thomas isn't voting for me. Wow, he really is not voting for me. It's not happening. So all that happens. I thought I gave a killer. I was like, oh, this is good. But then after everything happens, I look at everybody's faces. First off, I thought I already blundered by Carson. I thought I gave an awful answer to Carson's like, did you intently do what you did? And I was like, nah, I just laid back. And I was like, that was such a stupid answer. But looking back, I was like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was. After everything happens, it's done. I go to Eric and I'm like, you're winning. I thought she was winning 5-4 or 6-3. I still did. I was like, I screwed up. No one's looking at me. Everyone hates me. Here we go. I'm getting second place. So the first one comes in for the votes come in. The first one comes in for Carson. I was like, okay, this is going good. And then the second one comes in from Zoe, and I was like, okay, good. Yep, I knew. Third one, Marv. The moment he said Marvin, I said, I ain't getting that vote. I already knew 100% I wasn't getting it. Marvin and I never saw eye to eye. We never clicked. I knew I was never getting Marvin's vote no matter what. So I was like, good. Erica got the vote. Okay. He says Taisha. You could see it if you go back. I'm like, here we go. Here's the start of my downfall. I go like this. He says Taisha votes for me. My jaw drops. I'm stunned. I was like, what is happening?
Because
And
Erica,
then
throughout the final speeches, she was really harping on her connection with Taisha. So I thought she
exactly.
might have had that vote too. Yeah.
Yeah, I for sure going in was like, okay, Erica is locked with Taisha, HGC, and Jodely and Marvin. Those four, I was like, she's locked. She's locked. I need to get at least the other five to win. So Carson votes for me, and then Taisha votes for me, and Zoe. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then Wesley's comes out, and I'm like, it's for me. I'm like, oh my, I'm looking, and I'm like, I feel like I for sure still have Kennedy. Am I literally about to win? And then Jodely's name comes up. I'm like, okay, maybe it's going to be Jodely votes for Erica, HUC votes for Erica, Thomas votes for Erica, and they leave it to Kennedy. The moment he says Jodely has voted for the winner of Ascendance Live, I just ball. I'm like speechless. I'm like, I literally just won 8-1, and I came in thinking I was going to lose 5-4. It was one of the most surreal moments ever, ever. It was wild. It was wild.
Was there any specific question that you were like, "Ooh, this is a good question. I nailed it." And was there any question where you were like, I mean, you mentioned Carson's that you felt like you stumbled on, but watching back, you thought it was good. So were there any hard questions? Were there any like ones that you thought you nailed?
Honestly, I did think I gave a killer finale like performance. I truly do, and that's why I still think Erica did a phenomenal job. But I just think I upped her by like I think we both did fantastic. But I just feel like I was on top of it because watching the episode, it blows my mind. The jury roundtable, they're like, "What do you need to see from Drew in order to vote for him?" And they everything that they mentioned. Did he rely on his past relationships? What did he do any of this? This everything that they asked in the jury roundtable, I answered that question. And I didn't even know they were wanting those questions. I answered them. So like, and it was like almost for, like they didn't flat out ask, did you like Chris, I guess kind of, or Haku Chris kind of did, but like the phrasing I used was almost exactly what they were wanting to see. Now, it could have been bad. Like there was two that could have gone the bad because I know sometimes it makes come seem as cocky, but Kennedy's question when she asked, "Raise your hand on who you think you can beat," and I raised my hand for everybody but Zoe and Kennedy. I could have lost a couple jury votes there because people could have saw it as cocky. So when they said you could give a reason, I made sure I said exactly why I raised my hand for each of them, which I think saved face on that. And another one that could have hurt me, but I turned it around, was HGC's question on how many people did you know coming into this game? So going down the list and seeing that I knew 9 out of the 17 people, but pointing out the fact that the two of my closest allies were people I didn't even know, I think cemented that question in my favor. It could have went completely wrong and been like, oh, he did rely on this, he did rely on that. And I even say I came into this game saying if I got to the end, I didn't want people to say I relied on my past relationships. So that's I think I did a killer. Again, it could be conceded, but I think I did a killer jury performance. Carson's is the only one that I was like, great, this sucked. But looking back, it wasn't even as bad as I thought it was.
I do think those two questions that you mentioned were very could have been really bad, but I think you killed them, honestly. I talked to Erica. You can catch that interview on the channel as well. Um, I talked to Erica the other night before I spoke to Jodely, and I was really curious on her strategy with the raise your hand thing because you guys did completely
Shocking.
opposite things.
Yeah.
And she doesn't raise her hand for anybody, and you raise your hand for practically everybody. And I was like, Erica, what are you doing here? And then she comes up and she gives a reasoning, and I think she recovers there.
Yep.
Where and then I was like, okay, I think Drew needs to kind of combat that, and I think you did it perfectly as well as you mentioned. So, um, yeah, I think you killed the finale. Those are always so difficult because you don't know what these people want
You
from you.
don't.
um, and so you win 8-1. What are you doing with the money?
It's crazy. Obviously, I just moved, so that money went straight into my savings account to save up for a house because I just moved back home, hoping to buy a house. But you know how that market is right now, especially over here in Colorado. It's yeah, basically California levels. So yeah, I'm trying to save some money, and I'm getting a nice, fun tapestry. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that. It's a tapestry of the season, so I'm gonna be hanging that
Mm.
with pride. Um, but yeah, compared, and I just want to say, it's crazy. I may have only won one season of Ascendance, but like I said in my pregame thing, I plan on never being voted out of Ascendance, and I kept true to that. I have still never been voted out of Ascendance. So I'm proud of that. Going from a rock draw, going home on a rock draw, to getting humiliated in Ghost of the Past, even though I think I played a great game there too, but humiliated there. And then coming to live, I think I knew what I needed to do to win. and I capitalized on that. And they didn't show it. Mine was the only one they didn't show, and it sucks knowing like because I used the word so much. But I won the in the auction. I won the thing to talk to Eddie and get things like that. And one of his questions said, "You need to have great social capital in the game." And I mentioned that throughout my entire speech. So it's just fitting that the season 1 winner handed off to the season 2 winner about social capital. And I took that. I'm not saying obviously I was going to use that regardless, but it's just so cool that he gave me social capital and I was able to use that exact phrase in the finale, saying how great of a social capital that I did have in the game. So I think that's pretty cool.
Shout out to Edmund. He may
Shout
have
out.
won the season 2 draft. I still have to tally the scores, so we'll get that later this week. Um, but yeah, Drew, I thought coming into it, I had you rated kind of like mid tier. I thought maybe you would be in trouble with some of your past connections, i.e., Jodely. But you proved to, kill the game as you always do. Never got voted out of this game. Not many people can say that. So,
And Goose egg votes to my name. I was one vote away from playing a perfect game. But I knew I was never getting Marvin, so that's fine. And I'm happy that I didn't shut out Erica because I know how nervous and scared she was going into that. So I am happy that she at least got one vote because I didn't want her to feel even more like crushed and gutted. So I am happy about that. But one vote away from playing a perfect game.
um, to be fair, I didn't know. I had no idea where Marvin was going to vote, no matter what, because when I spoke to Marvin, he said he kind of never spoke to either of you guys. So,
But he hated me from the moment I stepped foot in that house, and I have no idea why. Part of the I don't know the true reason at all. I guess I just rubbed him the wrong way. I don't know, but apparently, and I don't even remember this. Apparently, he has the Kanto badges on his arm, like of a tattoo, and I like mentioned that to him. And apparently, a couple rounds later, I say, "Oh my god, cool tattoo!" over again, and he was like annoyed at that, and I was like, but I don't remember doing that. I don't know. I didn't get along with Marvin either, so I don't know. I guess we just didn't mesh. So I knew I was never getting Marvin's vote. But everyone else I potentially could have, even though I thought HEC, Taisha, and Jodley were leaning towards Erica, but I knew they could be potentially swayed. But Marvin, I knew for a fact he was never voting for me.
you can't win them all. But
It's true.
Drew, my last question to you is, what was your favorite part of the entire experience? I distinctly remember Edmund's answer to this last year, but I'd love to hear it from another winner.
Yeah. So obviously, yes, winning. That's what we all came to do. But honestly, just proving to myself, like I've always doubted, like maybe I'm not cut out for these games, maybe I'm not good enough, but just proving to myself that I could dig deep and win challenges, strategize with the best of them, be social, just finding that piece in you that you didn't know you have. And when you're put into a setting that is like a pressure cooker of a setting, and know where usually I blow my gasket and blow my lid, that I was able to stay cool and calm. Old Drew would have responded to Taisha saying out in the public, "Yeah, I'm not a liar." Old Drew would have been like, "No, yes, you are. You lied straight to my face." New Drew knew you cannot blow up in public. You cannot show that they're getting to you because you never know when you need someone. Because the moment you blow up, easy target. Like the moment your name's out there. That's old Drew. New Drew knew what to do. And knowing that I had that in me all along is awesome. So I guess at the end of the day, yes, it's a game, but just finding stuff in me that I didn't know I actually had. And that could be cliche, but I grew as a person in that game. I've grown in life ever since I moved too. I guess I can attribute it to the game, standing up for myself more, speaking my mind more when I need to. Just game just brought something out of me, and I want to thank production yet again from the bottom of my heart for even casting me. I know Nicole mentioned to you on one of her very first podcasts that they almost didn't want to cast me because of how many connections that I had, but hopefully they are happy that they still ended up casting me because I didn't rely on those connections. So I don't know, just finding something in me that I didn't know I had is my answer to that. And yeah, of course, winning is the cherry on top.
Well, Drew, that's awesome. I'm glad I got the opportunity to speak with you about your journey and your triumph in this game. Um, and yeah, I appreciate you taking out the time to come on Lost at Sea. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Duke. It's been a pleasure watching all season and can't wait to see it all unfold next season as well.